Hi guys, I'm Joe, and this is the Horrible Business Owner channel. I hope you guys had a prosperous week. Today we're going to talk about my third deadly sin for business, and that's not being properly capitalized. Okay guys, so being properly capitalized refers to having enough capital or cash on hand that you can get through the tough times. And every small business is going to start off probably not having all of the money that they should have in the bank, but that's not a reason not to start. So there's a couple of ways of making sure that you have enough capital if you're going to start a small business. One is that you can go ahead and buy an existing business. You should be able to see the books before you make the purchase, and that's going to give you the opportunity to see what the expenses are and whether you think that with their current sales you can afford to pay that price. The other option is that your personal budget is going to have to be able to support the business during the lean times, and that's a big deal for small businesses. So getting your personal house in order is probably the start, but you need to start somewhere. So the first business my wife and I started was a real estate investment company. And what we did was we bought a house that was a little dilapidated, and we were going to turn it into a rental. And what we hadn't considered was just how much money it was going to take in order to pull off that project. We bought the house, and then we thought that it was going to cost about $25,000 to put it together, and that we would have it done in about 4 weeks. And in reality, that project ran around $35,000, and it took closer to 6 months. So when we started, we had plenty of money to make the project fly, but after 6 months of paying the bills and the project being about $10,000 over budget, we were really struggling by the time that we were able to actually list the house for rent. And if you want some stress in your relationship, being short on a business is a great way to add some stress to your relationship. So over time, we've left the money in the real estate investment company. We've never taken a dime out of it. And now the company can actually pay its own bills. We don't really have to deal with anything with it. If a water heater goes down, we just go in and replace the water heater with the company's money, and we don't have to stress over that anymore. Now, I would recommend starting the company, because if you don't start, you're never going to get to that point. But you do have to have some money set aside for the lean time, because it gets tight. So the second business that we started as a startup was the ice cream store. And we were severely undercapitalized on the ice cream store and didn't realize just how bad it was. So we ended up borrowing about $165,000 in order to start the project. And then we had a shortfall, so I put $42,000 on a credit card. And what we found was that after the first year, with labor being out of control because we didn't know what we were doing, and costs being out of control because we didn't know what we were doing, we ran about a $27,000 loss on our first season as ice cream store owners. And that only worked out because we both were working 2 jobs. We both had full-time jobs and overtime, and then we were also working about 60 hours a week each at the ice cream store. I was going into the ice cream store and making ice cream, and then I was going to work. She was going to work and then going to the ice cream store and scooping ice cream. And that adds a lot of stress. So you got to be ready for that also. So over the years, we've had to reinvest money, and we've got almost 3 times into the ice cream store that we had when we started. But had we have not started, we would have never gotten to that point, because we wouldn't have had the income to start if we would have tried to go all the way all at once. So most small business failures don't happen because the concept was bad or the product was bad. Most small business failures happen because the shortfall over a short period of time caused a bankruptcy. And that's what we're trying to avoid. But we don't want to use the fact that you don't have $1 million in the bank to not open a business. So it depends on what business you're trying to open. If you want to start a landscaping company, you can start with a single lawnmower and then work your way up. And as the money comes in, you can buy a second lawnmower and then start hiring people. I have a friend looking to start another business right now, and he's going to have about $300,000 invested when he's done. But he's going to start with around 15. And that's going to get him started and get the money coming in so that he can afford to buy those other things without touching his personal budget in order to make the business fly. Do you want to start a screen printing company? You could start by making shirts and selling them on Etsy through Printify. Zero overhead. You could start your business, have some income coming in, and that would give you the money to expand down the road. Now, there's hundreds of thousands of people trying to sell shirts on Etsy, and not every one of them is going to be successful. But the overhead, in order to get started, you could do that from your house with just an internet connection. So there's no reason why you couldn't start there and then work your way up. So we're going to close it out today with the idea: most Fortune 500 companies are not going to struggle over capitalization, but most startups are. And You, with a little bit of time, can work out a budget and a starting place so that you can grow your business, and then you can be one of those Fortune 500 companies. I have faith in you. We'll see you next week.